I call to order the meeting of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District Board of Managers, February 27, 2020. Our first order of business is a very happy occasion. It is the swearing in of the reappointed managers, Miller and Loftus, and we'll look to legal counsel for that. You have to stand and raise your hand.
Okay.
Repeat after me, please. I, Richard Miller, Jessica Loftus.
I, Jessica Loftus,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the constitutions
of the United States and the state of Minnesota,
of the United States and the state of Minnesota,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of manager
of the office of manager
of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District
of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and abilities.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I have forms for you each to sign at the end of the meeting here. They gave them to me. We look to the approval of the agenda. There's no member of the public here. Are there any changes to the agenda anybody wants? Mr. Whisker?
President White, managers, Kate Moran had sent a note out earlier to the board noting that we would be pulling item 12.3, approval of the Maple Plain Local Surface Water Management Plan. Received a request from Met Council to extend their comment deadline and work with us in the city, so that'll be coming back at a later date.
Okay, thank you. With that change, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Manager Olson, second by Manager Maxwell. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On the consent agenda today, we have approval of the minutes of the February 13th board meeting, approval of the check registers for the general checking account, the surety checking account, and three consent items, three resolutions. They are Resolution 20-11, authorization to award a contract for 325 Blake Road buckthorn removal, 20-012, authorization to purchase replacement water quality equipment, and 20-013, 2020 National American Planning Association Conference attendance. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Manager Miller, is there a second?
Second.
Manager Rognus, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I just want to make a comment.
Certainly.
On the, several staff people are authorized to go to the National American Planning Association. It would be good if we could get a report of, because I think it'd be helpful for the board to kind of get an idea of what you're hearing and how what you learned. Because I think it's really important that we send people to these various meetings because you can get a lot of information and different insights. And but it would be helpful. We could use some updating too. So.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea.
And I would add, we're embarking on this outreach program. If there are any people there who might be resources for us, it would be wonderful to know, because you're going to be getting people from all over the country.
That sounds good. We'll be sure to scoop up all the information and bring it back in a format that's digestible for the board. We usually do report. I don't know if there's anything beyond a verbal report the board's looking for.
That'd be fine.
No, that's plenty. But just
Very good.
Thank you. I can report that I attended two meetings. One was the group, not a committee per se, but the group working on the summer tour, which included CAC and staff and managers Maxwell and Rognus and I. And I also attended a meeting earlier today, along with Manager Maxwell and staff at Hopkins to talk about next steps in the 325 Blake Road collaboration. Manager Miller, could we have a report on the Policy and Planning Committee meeting?
We had an update on the Minnehaha Creek sub-watershed planning efforts, a very complete report of the efforts in conjunction with all the other agencies that are involved in it. We also had a update on a potential property acquisition in Carver County, as well as discussion about watershed boundaries adjustments and potential for that and what would be involved. A very good meeting.
Thank you. The upcoming meeting and event schedule is listed here in the, on the agenda, and noting that a reminder that the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting was moved to an alternate date, March 3rd, and that Manager Miller will be attending for the board. Action item 12.1 on our agenda is Resolution 20-014. I'll look to Ms. Brown.
Thank you, President White, managers. I am seeking award of the contract for the Wasserman Lake Preserve construction this evening. I'll give a little bit of background and then go over the bid process and the contract amount. So I think this is a timeline that we're all very familiar with at this point. So we first started working on this project in late 2016. Leading into approval of a purchase agreement for the Wasserman West project in early 2017. That acquisition was contingent upon entering into a cooperative agreement between the city and the Watershed District, memorializing our mutual intent to develop a park on this property, which was approved in May of 2017. We worked with the city to develop a preliminary concept plan through the summer of 2018, and then came back to board and council in May of 2019 with a second cooperative agreement that modified the terms of the design development, the construction oversight, as well as the terms of closing on the property. We awarded the final design and construction oversight contract in August of 2019. And since then have been working with Ani Fernandez Landscape Architects to develop final design, construction documents, and get us to where we are today, which is positioned to construct the park in 2020. So we solicited bids middle of January, and the bid period was open for about 4 weeks. We received 6 responses to that bid solicitation, costs ranging from $1.84 million to $2.38 million. I'll provide a comparison of the actual to expected costs on the next slide, but essentially these were really good costs. Ani Fernandez remarked that they hadn't seen bid prices come back this competitively for any of their projects recently, so must have been an attractive project, and I think our timing on the bid was really good by doing it early in this year. Linco is the low responsive bidder, and so we are recommending awarding the contract for the amount listed here, as well as a 10% construction contingency on that contract. A little bit about Linco. They're a new company to us, and they're a new company in the field. They were just established in 2019, and they're principally a site work and demolition company. And while they're sort of recently established, they come with a lot of industry experience. All the leadership was with a company previously in leadership positions for over 25 years. Linco will primarily be serving as a general contractor, with subcontractors doing a lot of the detail work, but they will manage the demo, the grading, and the utilities on site. I haven't listed the subcontractors, but wanted to note that Land Bridge Ecological will be the subcontractor for the restoration elements, and they help develop the restoration plan. They're performing the oak work, and we've worked with them a lot on other projects, so we're in very good hands on that restoration work with Land Bridge. So this is a summary of the overall cost. So as the board knows, we have awarded contracts for both the winter oak work and the boardwalk construction. The allocation of costs on the park construction, so on this contract, it's about 1.65 million of city costs and 196,000 of district costs. And our total cost with all contracts is about 236,000 compared to our estimated cost of 296,000. So we're coming in under budget, and then the city is coming in substantially under budget based on the construction cost estimate. There are a few outstanding items that would be coming back. The fishing pier is going to be a separate item, working directly with a dock manufacturer. Because the costs have come in so competitively, the city is likely going to look to pave more of the trail, some of the natural surface trail. They'll look to change order and pave those areas. So that would be coming forward as a change order, and we would bring that separately rather than using construction contingency. We'd bring that forward separately. And then the interpretive signage elements that we discussed in committee would be coming forward as a separate package. And then there also will be a contract for construction testing, rather than have the contractor responsible for all the concrete, structural, soil testing. We're going to hire a testing agency directly, so that'll be coming back as well. But even with those elements and those add-ons, we're well within and would continue to be under budget. So with that, I am seeking approval of the resolution which awards the contract to Linco, establishes the not-to-exceed construction budget, and then authorizes the administrator to issue the notice to proceed for the project.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move approval.
Manager Olson, I was so shocked that you did that. Is there a
That's
second?
a lean forward.
Thank you, Manager Miller. Are there questions for Ms. Brown? Comments? Manager Miller?
The construction, I don't know what term you use, a construction evaluator or what tester?
Oh, the tester, yes.
Is that a new kind of element you're putting into the development of projects now?
Manager Miller, managers, we typically have the contractor hire a testing agency directly. And Ane Fernandez recommended that we solicit our own testing agency so that they're sort of truly serving as an independent entity. So typically that cost we would see folded in with the overall project cost.
Okay. What do they test?
Concrete.
Manager Miller, yeah, there's a long list. They test the integrity of the concrete. They, particularly with all of the site grading, there will be a lot of compaction testing and soil testing to make sure that we're hitting all of our load requirements. There's probably other things I'm not thinking.
Okay, thank you.
I think I heard you say the city was going to pay for the pathways completely. That wasn't going to be shared between us.
Yeah, Manager Maxwell, the city is paying for all of the trail improvements,
Okay.
and we'll pay for that change order.
Manager Hedgmont?
Question. The Linco is going to be hiring a bunch of subcontractors. Is the testing that you're talking about a way to check and make sure that the subcontractors are doing everything they're supposed to do? Is that what that does?
Manager Hejmati, the responsibility to kind of check the work is shared. I mean, the testing agency manages the sort of the materials. It's more about materials testing.
Oh, I see, okay.
But we have a contract with Ane Fernandez for construction oversight, and then staff will also be performing a level of construction oversight, and that will be making sure that things are being built to plans, that the finishings reach the right level of quality, that everything is sort of as we intended it to be.
Okay, all right, so the staff and Ane Fernandez will do that? Okay, thank you.
Manager Loftus?
Will they be testing the planks on the boardwalk?
Manager Loftus, we did receive submittals to sort of verify the treatment of the planks.
There we go.
I don't know what our testing is.
Anything else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Resolution 20-015, Ms. Schaufler. Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt just for a moment while you're setting up there. Manager Olson just pointed out there's a typo in the list of upcoming meetings. It says March 25 and it's actually the 26th.
Chair White, managers, tonight staff is seeking authorization to execute agreements with the Minnesota DNR and WANC for improved floodplain modeling and mapping updates. And for context for this request, after the 2014 flooding, the district and the DNR had some conversations and the district utilized some various FEMA grant dollars to the DNR to compare some of the actual 2014 flood elevations to some of the modeling that we had done. So that started a conversation between the district and the DNR, and then in 2018, the board approved an agreement with the DNR to evaluate some of our current modeling, the FEMA model along Minnehaha Creek. I just want to pull up an example of what some of that looked like. So for example, what this map is showing is the area in orange is the current FEMA model, and the area in blue is the updated model if you were to run Atlas 14. So what we're proposing tonight is to run the model district-wide and determine where this expanded footprint does exist, because more people technically are within that 100-year footprint if you're using updated precipitation data. And FEMA has awarded more grant dollars to the DNR to update these special flood hazard areas, just as you see before you. And watershed districts across the metro are doing the same exact thing. This isn't unique to Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. And the DNR then, if the board was to approve amending this existing grant agreement, would work to have all of them modeling updated by October of 2020 of this year. They would then, the DNR, convene meetings with communities to review the information. We'd participate in those meetings. And then their end goal would be June of 2021, have all the updates complete. As for FEMA approval of the official updates, last time that took almost a decade to do. The DNR is somewhat more hopeful that would be a quicker occurrence this time, and they thought maybe in that 5-year time span, everything would become official. So with that, staff is seeking authorization to amend the existing grant agreement with the DNR for this improved floodplain modeling and mapping, and also authorization to execute a contract with WANC to perform the floodplain modeling and mapping updates for a not to exceed amount of $63,400.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move approval.
Manager Miller, is there a second? Second. Manager Rognus. Any questions for Ms. Schaufler? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Skipping 12.3, going to 12.4, we have resolution 20-017, Ms. Domjancic.
Thank you, President White, managers. Tonight, staff is seeking authorization to execute a design contract for MCWD Campus Improvement Design Services. Try this again. I'd like to provide first an overview of the project itself to make improvements to the MCWD campus and the goals of the project, provide a brief overview of the original concept plan and development of the 2020 operational budget that was developed from the concept plan itself, the process by which the district requested proposals for design services, and then staff's recommendation for a design consultant team. Just to refresh everyone's memory, the MCWD office sits on a fully built-out site that has received periodic maintenance and improvements over the last 7 years, but the current needs of the site really exceed what can be accomplished with routine maintenance. The current needs include replacement and expansion of the parking areas and shared driveway, improved ADA accessibility, replacement of concrete at the building entrances due to frost heaving, expansion of the existing stormwater management system, establishment of a cohesive landscape, and provision of equipment storage, as well as compliance within a longstanding PUD with the City of Minnetonka to provide an enclosure for our refuse containers. Just to refresh everyone's memory about the concept plan and budget development, we worked with Wank, the district engineer, to develop this concept plan to inform the 2020 budget. That concept plan essentially included reconstructing the parking lot and the shared driveway with Campbell CV, increasing the parking spaces, exceeding our stormwater requirements, improving drainage and replacing the rear door concrete pads, building a dumpster exclosure, replacing turf with prairie planting, adding a storage shed, and this concept plan developed approximate cost of $400,000, including a design budget of 10% and a contingency of 25%. And this is the concept plan that Wank developed that was then provided to the request for proposals information set. The request for proposals, you had proposers utilize a concept plan as a basis to serve as a jumping off point for design to stay within the $40,000 budget. We asked the design teams to utilize the 2013 site investigation, which included information about underground utilities and soil borings. And we also asked the design teams to creatively address the existing conditions, that we have a fully built out site, and to address the long-term goals of improving the parking lot and drive, addressing some space constraints and entry areas, managing stormwater and treating that as an amenity, and also developing a cohesive landscape for the site. We held an informational meeting of which 12 consultant teams attended. We received 8 proposals after a 4-week period of the RFP being out for solicitation. A staff review team evaluated and scored the proposals with an evaluation matrix that provided a numerical score and also ranked proposals. We used a series of evaluation matrices, essentially looking at project experience and understanding the experience of the team working on a fully built out and retrofit site, innovation and expansion on the existing concept plan, and the team's ability to stay within the $40,000 budget. Ultimately, staff interviewed 3 consultant teams, EOR, LHB, and Wank, and came to the conclusion, a unanimous decision, that LHB really rose to the top of those teams. They had a very creative and a practical approach to the design. Working with a fully built out site, they were able to incorporate sort of all of our wants and needs. And so they really kind of rose to the top for that reason. They very thoroughly used the existing data that we provided and also identified the need for an additional site survey. The original site survey was completed in 2007. There have been some changes to the site since then, so that's something that will be added on to their scope if the contract is approved. The design is also very cost effective. It really looks at what are the priorities and putting kind of money where we'll get most bang for our buck. And then a very cost-effective and maintainable stormwater design, knowing that we have limited capabilities to do any sort of maintenance on our site. Given our limited resources, the design for their stormwater system is very maintainable and cost-effective. They've had a very thoughtful use of the design budget. They have a landscape architect and their engineering team really focused on the design piece that really takes the concept plan to the next level. And then they're fully utilizing staff expertise in-house within the district for construction oversight, because we have that resource to use and use wisely. They also really showed a depth of experience in their stormwater retrofit projects, showed a number of projects from the MCTC campus, the Minneapolis Convention Center campus, as well as another library where they've done a site retrofit for a totally built-out site. If the board concurs in staff's recommendation, the timeline moving forward would be development of 60% design documents in early March, going through the permitting process with the City of Minnetonka and the district, as well as coordination with our neighbor Campbell CV in mid-March. Then at the March 26th board meeting, we'll have a 60% design review. Then through April, we'll do the development of the 90% design documents. And then at the April 23rd board meeting, again, a 90% review by the board. And then in early June, hopefully have 100% design plans and go through the bid period and have an early July construction And again, staff is seeking authorization to execute the contract for MCW Campus Improvements Design Services.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Manager Rodman, is there a second?
Second.
Manager Miller? Any questions for Ms. Tomjancic? Manager Hajmati?
Go ahead.
Okay. It's the construction starts in July. How long do you think it'll take to get it to?
Manager Hashmati, managers, the design team anticipates a 6 to 8 week construction window.
6 to 8 weeks.
Manager Miller?
I haven't, I've seen Mid-Mississippi's building, and, but I understand Capital Region's got a new building. And I'm a little concerned about, make sure that whatever we implement here could be, it would be commercially acceptable for somebody to duplicate it, rather than some far out, you know, state-of-the-art kind of thing that looks like we're a government agency wasting money. You know, I don't want to you know, so, you know, like the project that we saw a couple years ago, I think it was, it had a huge tank out in front and all this other kind of stuff that nobody else is going to do, so why use it as an example? Yeah. And you know the rain garden and doing the wetland restoration, all that kind of stuff makes a lot of sense, and obviously the parking lot and all that business. But I'd really be disappointed if we came back with something that wasn't commercially duplicatable, and you know, and it looked like we were just putting money in because you know that's our job, to waste government money.
There is a cistern in the plan.
Manager Miller, President White, managers, yes, the cistern was contemplated in the concept design, and so it's something we've kind of left as a sort of exploratory piece.
Okay.
It's something that could be incorporated at low cost and be actually useful for irrigating our landscape. If those pieces kind of fit together and the cost is appropriate, then we would consider that. But it's certainly, I would say, at the bottom of the list. The stormwater management approach that we've kind of followed from the concept design, and LHB has sort of taken on as well, is really to make it maintainable, use what we have existing, that being the infiltration basin in the rear of the building, creating a filtration basin with that, doing some sort of pretreatment. But yes, it would be replicable at another commercial site or a residential site
Good.
as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Manager Maxwell?
One of your earlier pictures, you had 2 dumpsters. Are both those dumpsters ours, or is one the neighbors?
They are, yes, Manager Maxwell. One is a recycling container and the other one is for garbage.
Okay, recycle. Are they both being closed then?
Enclosed in that, yes, in that structure.
Thank you. Anything else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Resolution 20-018, Mr. Whisker.
Yeah, President White, managers, tonight staff is recommending board approval of Resolution 2018, which establishes the strategic direction for the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District's outreach, and it also authorizes the administrator to take the actions necessary to begin staffing the department and the program. As you know, the request before you tonight represents more than a year's worth of work, synchronized across staff, our Citizens Advisory Committee, our Board of Managers, to establish a clear forward direction for the district's outreach, which we formally called Education and Communications. The work's been long in the making and preceded by some key policy decisions along the way, namely the board's development of our vision policy and fundamental way of doing business, a balanced urban ecology, which the board approved in 2014, and then the board's development of the district alignment plan, which outlined the strategic direction for our organization following that vision policy in 2017. Together, those policies identified the district's strategy of delivering high-impact capital improvements and shaping the next generation of land use policy to accomplish our mission. by integrating the district's work into the built environment through partnerships with the land use community and delivering that work with a level of focus, flexibility, and high degrees of creativity so that we're benefiting not only the environment but the economy and social well-being of our member communities. And since the adoption of those two seminal policies, the district then entered a 2 to 3 year process, which we're in the middle of now, to systematically reorient and realign its work and its programming, its culture, and its human resources. And it was as part of that effort that in June 2019, the board approved Resolution 1959, initiating the strategic planning process for the outreach, to align that outreach, and that's what's before you this evening. The work to date's involved moving through several different phases. The initial discovery work, which really involved reviewing our past plans, our existing strategies, and program efficacy to date. The qualitative research that we conducted of our audiences, which involved interviews, focus groups, and surveys of key segments of our audiences. And then from that data, drawing deeper insights to gain a deeper level understanding of what the data is really telling us before we then moved on with CAC staff and the board with some of our consulting help into strategy setting, which was really outlining the principles that would then guide how we want to build our new outreach program. And then finally, mapping out the considerations related to implementation. The human resources, the focus of the work, and some of the operational considerations. And it is that work, I wanted to say, was completed by the entire organization working together. We had cross-departmental teams of staff. We did have support from our consultants, engagement by board liaisons early on to set the sideboards and steer. We had a series of focus discussions over a period of months with our Citizens Advisory Committee, and along the way at critical milestones, multiple points of review and discussion by board committee. And it's the results of that work that are captured in the document that is before you this evening for approval, included in the packet, and that was reviewed at the last committee meeting, the Operations and Programs Committee, on February 13th. That document generally is providing clarity around the segmentation of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District's audience between the land use decision makers, public and private, as well as the broader public, and how we balance the engagement of both through the most effective outreach tactics, how we align those tactics to produce maximum value for the taxpayers in delivering our policy change and implementing our capital improvements, and then how we get that information out. What are our best outreach channels, which we've identified as being our key personnel working on advancing the district's strategic initiatives, as well as a host of other principles to guide the realignment of the outreach. What we discussed on the 13th were then the considerations related to implementation and the next steps, including details in human resources, some of the focus of work, including actionable next steps to realign and pivot some of our legacy community engagement programming, and then, as I'd mentioned just a moment ago, some of the operational considerations, things like workflow, technology needs, the training and consulting support to ramp the program up as quickly as possible and get it functioning. So Resolution 20-018, which is before you tonight, adopts that document that's in your packet as the guiding strategic direction for our outreach as an organization, and then it authorizes the administrator to take the necessary next steps to implement the staffing plan outlined, which is the immediate next step. As we had discussed at committee this last month, the plan really envisions scaling the program back from 4 people to 3 positions right now, to be perhaps scaled up in the future based on the proven success, any lessons that we learned, work demands, and just adaptive management. The 3 positions that are included involve the manager or lead position, which is obviously driving strategy, developing some of the custom tailored outreach plans, and all in all just leading the program. Graphic design or a web specialist, which is really there to support data visualization as we work towards telling stories more in the future through pictures and visualizing our deep and rich data set. And then an engagement planner, which is going to be focused more on face-to-face interactions, meeting facilitation, planning, and how we engage the broader general public around some of our key initiatives through effective and targeted community engagement. We talked on the 13th that we'd fill all those positions competitively, beginning first with the program manager position. We would onboard the manager position and then involve them subsequently in the hiring of the next 2 positions. So immediate next steps really involve refining the position descriptions for all 3, but with emphasis on the lead, evaluating the job classification, developing a recruitment posting strategy, and then obviously just getting the posting up and working our way towards interviewing and hiring that lead position. The timeline is really, I think, as soon as possible, but somewhat flexible. We've been operating for a number of months now with sort of a skeleton crew, and I think keeping things running pretty effectively. So have some flexibility, but looking to post the position by the end of March, hopefully sooner. We talked about mid-March, with interviews end of April, the manager position then filled in May, 30 to 45 days of onboarding, and then the way that might play out, if that all works, we'd be posting the remaining positions together concurrently early in July. In terms of interim support, this is something that we talked about in committee and I'm still working on. I think we'll be looking to develop some consulting contracts to keep the existing outreach on track. We have a big year of outreach planned with Mod Summer Tour and the legislative session. We talked about LCCMR, some other things, and that support would then help any new staff member, the program lead, get their feet underneath them quickly, up and running with the support they need to actually produce results this year while we build out the team around them. And we'd be bringing any contracts forward for consideration by the board sometime in March. So with all that said, I'm not stepping through the details of the plan tonight. It's in the packet and we've talked about it before, but I am recommending approval of Resolution 20-018. Happy to answer any questions. And before I do that, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. I mentioned before, it's really been a team effort, including everybody on the district's team. So I wanted to thank everybody on staff, which includes everybody in this room that's participated, our consultants, John and Tom, and going back to staff specifically, Kim LeBeau and Trevor Bourne, who without a department really around them ran point on a lot of the work. Our board liaisons, President White, Managers Loftus, and Miller, who early on sort of set the parameters and helped steer the process through consultant selection and into the early stages of planning. Our Citizens Advisory Committee, they've met probably 4 or 5 times on this, really dug in deep, asked some really deep critical thinking questions, and I think their fingerprints are really on this plan in a very positive way. And then have our board members who have been engaged through all of the committee discussions, I think been extremely engaged and hopefully tracked along the way and have just been very supportive. And specifically, I wanted to just thank Manager Hedgemati too, who offline's taken the time to really go even a step further and provide some red line, deep critical insight, meet with staff, and his perspectives helped shape the end product quite a lot as well. And then of course our audience members. We did a bunch of qualitative research, interviews, focus groups, and so those are the people we're trying to serve, and that's the research that's helped us get to this point where we have a plan ready for approval. So thanks to everybody for helping us get here since June of 19. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move approval.
Manager Miller, second Manager Maxwell. Questions or comments?
I'm just glad that you picked up the tension building techniques, criticizing product. That's good.
Look after it.
That's good. This is really exciting project that I think the product was worth all the effort you put in it, because I think it's going to be a major change in the acceptance of our programs and understanding what we're doing and support. I think it's just phenomenal work.
Thank you.
And your thanks to everyone are well placed, because it was such a big effort. I'm glad you called all those players out for us.
Yeah, the effort on the part of the staff was remarkable on this. It really needs to be acknowledged. What a wonderful staff we have, and how much effort they all put into this. Particularly the report that...
I keep on warning you about pay raises, you know. Careful about phrases.
And the report that you wrote, Trevor,
Yeah.
was outstanding. It was very, very good. I see this as something that'll probably be worth publishing once you get it going. People
After
will
we
come
after
here
we
to find
produce
out
some
how this was
results,
done.
maybe.
People will come here to find out how this is done. So it's very good.
It's exciting with all those high expectations. All we have to do is deliver.
I have no doubt that the delivery will be excellent. None whatsoever.
Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Whisker. And you are up now for the administrator's report.
And I have no significant updates this evening.